Welcome everyone to a casted game for Age of Empires 4, and today spawning Southwest Corner map playing in red, we've got louemt playing as the Ottomans, and his opponent in the northeast playing in blue, we've got Montezuma playing as the Abbasid dynasty. Welcome everyone to highview, a map we haven't seen for a very long time. I kind of like this map. It's I mean, the reason why I haven't seen a lot of this map is because it's one that's often banned. There's just so much stealth on the map that you can't see very far, even with the scouts. It's a bit of a tricky one. But I'll tell you what's tricky is this matchup as well. The Ottomans versus the Abbasids. We've seen it quite often, and I think it's a fascinating one because you've got the Ottomans that naturally, they're naturally postured towards aggression. Military school opening. They do start to pump out units with the blacksmith, increasing the production speed, and also free units. You love free units as the Ottomans. The Abbasid dynasty, though, whilst they don't get free units, they get, the fact that they get fresh foodstuffs is a really good knock-on effect in terms of military production because, you're spending a lot less food on villagers, and food is a staple resource for military production, whether it be horsemen, spearmen in particular, and so the savings you get from making villages you can pass on to military production. The Abbasid dynasty as a feudal age powerhouse, they're not. They're pretty good. They're pretty snazzy. They're pretty, get the eco to rock and roll with the second town centre. And, the cheaper villages means the second town centre is not very expensive to run. The economy gets kicking. And you can get a lot of units that scale really nicely as the ages wear on. I think that's one thing about the Abbasid as well. Like, the feudal age scales very well. You've got the infantry that get boot camp. You've got archers in particular, which can get the composite bows upgrade with the military wing. It's a very strong upgrade with the extra 33% attack speed. It means that, a lot of units that you make in the feudal age tend not to be super viable in the castle age. Archers actually are generally one of those units. Like they can do a job in the feudal age, but when you get to the castle age, you start dealing with heavily armored units, man-at-arms, your knights, your lancers. The archers start to fall off a little bit. I mean, they're a very good support unit if you want to take care of spearmen, but in a unit of themselves, they're not the showstopper. Things are a little bit different with the Abbasids, though. With composite bows, they actually bridge that gap a little bit more than you'd think. Speaking of castle age, with an outpost around the back, that's going to offer some protection on the gold, but also the stone if he does decide to go for a second town centre, which is probably the case because he's going to go for the eco wing, which is not something we see all that often these days. So it's actually going to go for the Fertile Crescent upgrade, most likely a second town set of, obviously much more cheaper cost. And with a second town set of placement, the question is where he's going to put it. Now, with the most recent patch, generally players are being a bit more conservative about it because, of course, expanding your town center a bit further forward in, say, the Deer Pack is it an exposed area? Only 7 garrisonable spots is not already a good idea against a civilization that does pack a punch in the feudal age. So it could be placing it quite close to home potentially. We'll have to see exactly where he decides. I mean, we're jumping ahead of the game. It's probably going to be a second town center, not guaranteed. I'd be surprised if he doesn't. He's now transitioning villages onto stone. But only 3, so possibly could just be for arrow slits. No, I take it back. It's going to send another 4 or so villages. Actually adding more, 7. So definitely a second town center to play. Early spearmen. Just going to harass the scout as much as possible. There is a twin minaret madrasa, the landmark of choice for the Ottomans. No real surprise, going to get the berries and free food that way. And I mean, a feudal age is going to be one that I think suits the Abbasids. The Ottomans obviously get free units, but with a second town centre, unless you deny it, it's a tricky one. Now, for the longest time, the Ottomans had a very unidimensional style of play. It's kind of one of the situations where you just get units, bash your head against the wall, try and beat your opponent before they get the castle age or early castle age. But things have changed a little bit. They can progress to the late stages of games in Age of Empires, and they can do pretty well with the Great Bombard. We've seen it time and time again. And louemt with a Great Bombard or 2 in the Imperial Age could pack a punch. Speaking of late game, though, there aren't that many civilizations that can match up with the Abbasids in many ways, because of course the Golden Age Tier 3 does give the villager gathering rate plus 20% for all resources, also plus 20% production speed. It's a hefty bonus. The Ottomans do get bonuses of their own, though, of course, with blacksmith being able to increase the production speed, so we shall see which civilization comes out on top. What's really nice about the spearmen as well, like just as we see the Ottomans doing now, pushing in the deer camp, that's going to be a lot of food, and especially with the twin madrasa placement, it's going to be a nice gather point for food for sure, with the deer camp there, sheep being brought in as well. And there's that second town centre, as you can see, being placed quite close to home, no real surprises there. And what also is not a real surprise is the amount of support you guys have been giving over the weeks. It's been absolutely fantastic. Thank you so much. You guys are turning up every time, whether it be a Twitch on YouTube. So thank you, thank you, thank you very, very much. Really appreciate it. Well, that's a bit scuffed, isn't it? There we go. Fixed. So I really appreciate that. I'm streaming live on Twitch these... Well, can I just say the placement of those deer? Right close up to the twin minaret madrasa. Really nicely done. Yeah, certainly I am streaming live on Twitch these days, so it's worth coming and saying hi if you do like watching live streams. I'll leave a link in the video description. There's the Golden Age Tier 1. Gonna give that extra 10%, 15% actually, for the Abbasids. Extra 15% on the villager gather rate. Only 10% for the Ayyubids, but then the Ayyubids do have about 5 tiers. There's going to be a second town centre for the Ottomans too, actually. Interesting play. Yeah, I think the Ottomans are generally actually a lot more flexible than they have been in the past. And I think you must have got Anatolian Hills, because that's a lot of sheep. Anatolian Hills does give you extra sheep. It must be, right? It's got to be. But yeah, I mean, ultimately the cheaper villages for the Abbasids kind of counteracted for the Ottomans by getting free units, but it's going to be a third town centre as well. Abbasid booming it up. It looks like it's going to be one of those games where both players are going to be getting a lot of units and then looking to pack a punch when the economy does start rocking and rolling. So whilst it might be a bit quiet at this stage of the game, fear not. It's usually just the calm before the storm. And there's one Sipahi, probably the first of very many. Real staple unit for the Ottomans, gotta say. Adding in an archery range, commonly done. They will give them access to the camel archer potentially, but also regular archers. Spy about to dive on the woodline, backs away with the villagers Montezuma. Only one Sipahi, so there's only so much damage you can do with one Sipahi. Just keeping an eye on how much stone has been mined, so he knows it's going to be a second town centre. He also knows where it is. It looks like it's going to be Castle Age coming in for the Ottomans pretty soon as well. Not really invested in any military production. You can see actually he's only relying on the free units from the military school. Really taking advantage of the Ottomans' bonus that way, and see the Abbasids don't get free units, so they have to invest in some production buildings and pumping out some units as well. Got to be careful not to overinvest here, the Abbasids, because he's going to be up against a Castle Age Ottomans, which, by the way, is a really nice power spike for the Ottomans. Not only can they get the heavily armoured units, but also get the Mehmed Imperial armour. It gives them access to Mangadals pretty quickly. Does force their enemy into getting anti-siege themselves, which actually, to be fair, the Abbasid dynasty aren't in a bad position to deal with, because, of course, they can build them on the ground. It's one of the few civilizations that can actually do that. Yeah, he's well on his way, right? Especially with the Anatolian Hills giving the extra sheep. Food is going to be easy to come by, especially with the twin minaret madrasa as well. Plenty of food to get to the next stage. With a nice back gold predicted by the town centre, you know we're going to get to the next stage. You need to make sure you've got those resources, food and gold, your primary ones, to really pump out heavily armoured units, and the Ottomans have got that on lockdown. Also got the meta riding on out, going to be increasing that attack speed of the units surrounding it. Back at home. With 3 town centres invested into, by the way, Montezuma will be getting to the next stage pretty soon as well. Which landmark, which wing will he go with? That's the question. I suspect it's military wing. I feel like it's one of those wings that you can't not go for. I think the Abbasid dynasty always goes for either in the Dark Age or to the to get to the Feudal Age or the Castle Age. It's got to choose that, because it feels like boot camp is one of those upgrades that you can't forego, and composite bow is just a cherry on the cake, if you will. Of course, Archer is a bit of a tricky situation coming up against Mangonel, which is obviously inevitable from the Ottomans. So something the Abbasid dynasty have to be careful about. Getting plenty of palisades. And getting the palisades on the west side is actually really important because 2 deer camps, there's a berry bush and gold and stone. A really nice, important area to keep an eye on. And same can be said for the Ottomans in the south. But bear in mind the boar placements aren't really relevant in this matchup. You know, both civilizations can't take it. Both civilizations, of course, adhering to the Islamic tradition, can't take that meat, and so a little bit less relevant are the east and the west corners of the map. Having said that, 2 sacred sites could be a point of contention. Speaking of which, relics are a thing. They're a thing in the Castle Age. 3 of them are very equally situated in the middle of the map. 1 on either side of the map as well. 1 for both players, of course. Alright, with Castle Age already in for the Ottomans, getting those upgrades, blacksmith and veterancy alike, and starting to pump out those military buildings. Bear in mind, it's actually cheaper for the Ottomans. Only 100 would cost for these guys. And toggling heavily onto Sipahi. Now, I've got to say, Sipahi, whilst they're a staple unit for the Ottomans, give a lot of mobility, the counter for that will be spearmen. And, you know, the Abbasids actually probably get one of the best spearmen in the game. Adding in the phalanx upgrade, which he already has, gives him a really big punch. Gives him an extra attack range in particular, which is really nice as a support unit. In the melee mosh pit, they can fight really efficiently. Spy trying to get on top of the archers, but they get melted by the spearmen, although gotta be careful not to lose both of them. Loses 1. I think this army will be cleaned up. Not too terrible though for the Abbasids. Behind all of this, they've got 3 town centres, don't forget, so a significant villager lead. Now we're starting to see that farming transition, which will delay any sort of further military pumping out for the Abbasids somewhat. But he's got static defences, right, so he's got a lot of time to be able to defend this with, which is the key bit of detail. Certainly both players are going to be looking to contest those relics now. Might be a bit difficult for the Abbasids. They kind of need more military to push out, but that'll come in time. Give it another 5-10 minutes and the villager lead will start to show itself in military numbers. The villager lead, yeah, will certainly do so. It's got already a good 19 villagers extra. Now the thing is, you've got to be careful about so many stealth forests on this map. That vision becomes really difficult. You have to react quickly. Especially when the hard counter units are involved. There's the first Mangonel, completely free of course. From the Mehmed Imperial Armory, bringing in the first relic. In fact, this is the second relic. It's already got 1 in the bank. Mangonel about to deploy. Always threatening there for the Ottomans. Louis moving further forward, looking to try and snag that relic. Should be able to get it. Might try for a while alone. Might just run away with it. And I think he will. Sapai going to get on top of the crossbows around the back. Mangonel getting good volleys on the spearmen. Couple of archers there for the Ottomans. Does allow the retreat for that the relic rather. Which was the key bit of detail in this engagement. I don't think he really wants to fight this, does he? And a couple of Gulam. But he's backing away now, Montezuma. He has to. But Montezuma playing this well. You should buy a bit more time and the economy will be ripping and rolling. A 3rd relic in, already the bank. 1 more coming in, so it's going to get 4 relics. All the relics in the middle of the map. The map control worked out so well for the Ottomans. Only this relic won't be able to be taken. Understandably so. No real chance of that. 6 out the west side being capped. And he's starting to ride out with those Sipahi. Looks like the farming transition, you know, is well underway. It's not fully complete. It does have some of the deer stacks to take actually at the back in the berries, but he started it, so it will be a less of a hard transition later on in the game. Sneakily taking the sacred site, by the way. Nicely done. Probably not for long, but Every little bit of trickle of gold helps. And Louis now starting to maybe put some pressure on. Understands that he doesn't really want to allow the Abbasids to boom away uncontested. So now it's starting to try and torch his way through. It's starting to build up a force now. The Abbasids are starting to push on out. 16 minutes into the game. The economy is starting to really escalate. All that mangonel kind of exposed in a big way. I think it gets taken down. Unfortunate there for Louis. Losing a free unit though. Not ideal. It was free after all. Now he's going to get palisades walls of his own. Maybe just try and stall the game out late game. I think he kind of has to, right? Because it's come to the point where actually Montezuma's ahead on economy, he's ahead on military count. So the only way that Louis can get back into the game is to perhaps really stall it out, get to the Imperial Age and maybe let the bombards do its work. Adds a couple of janissaries, and these units are going to be really powerful at delaying cavalry. That's actually kind of something to think about as the Ottomans. Or going up against the Ottomans, really, is that cavalry is not always an option. You know, janissaries hard counter you quite heavily, and something they're postured towards. Oh, that's a good surround there with the Sabahi on the crossbows. A good few spearmen protecting them as well, though. But the numbers there looking great for the Ottomans. He's taking the fight. I mean, sure, Montezuma on paper has more military numbers, but I don't know where they are exactly. They're definitely not here on this screen, because it gets absolutely cleaned up. I think they're back at home. They're trickling on forward. Main army was split into two, whereas the Ottomans kept it all together, and the meta getting involved and really increased the attack speed of those units. Good initial engagement in this battle for the Ottomans. I've got to say, this sector's been captured for a while, sneakily done, but he's had it for a while, and that's a good amount of gold income coming in. Spy diving on in. I don't think he'd take the fight with Spy. Too many spearmen, really. He's got a couple of springles now, the Abbasids, to deal with mangonels that might be approaching soon. Spearmen trying to build that third one. Can't quite. Oh, he's engaging. He does lose a couple of Sabai for free. Janissaries and range units, archers working well with the meta, getting a good attack speed, I've got to say. And Spearmen having to back away. All of a sudden, starting to escalate. 3 units are working well out for him. 3 of the 4 military schools, in fact, are working hard. And it's going to decap that sacred site on the west side now. But he's got things knocking on his door here. Montezuma has to stabilise. He's struggling on food. Whilst he does have fresh foodstuffs, it's still a tough ask to maintain 3 town standard production. He won't need to produce too many more villages. It's almost population capped. Spearmen charging on through. They're kind of throwaway units at this point, but doesn't want to throw them away against the mangonels. He needs a bit of a meat shield. He needs time, but he's going to take the fight in a big way, and I think he could be okay. Spy diving on, and Spearmen numbers still good numbers, though, actually. I don't think Spy had any right fighting that, and he's going to lose a lot of them. Gulam tanking that front line will be good against those archers for sure. I think whilst the numbers don't look great for Montezuma, he should fight this back because of the units he's got. Heavily armoured units versus the archers, and louemt having to back away. He's not going to win that fight on the west side. Ooh, the villagers on gold, and they're going to get slaughtered by the janissaries. He's very aggressive here, Montezuma, with the villager placement, trying to sneak into that gold. It is an 8,000 gold vein. Oh, he's getting harassed on that woodline by a couple of Sapahi. Massive damage coming out. But louemt kind of has to do that, right? He's behind on villagers in a big way. And so even losing the villagers here is not, it's not too terrible. I mean, it's not ideal. Let's put it that way. But it's not too devastating in the grand scheme of things. That's such a kind of a nice interplay here, because you've got the Camelot Anise, which obviously reduces the amount of damage that the Sapai can do, but then you've got the threat of janissaries from the Ottomans that obviously just rip through cavalry and camels alike. Villagers garrisoning inside the outpost just to protect that gold vein. He's got 3 of them, so actually, I mean, whilst he might not necessarily be actively gathering from this, it does mean that the Ottomans will find it a bit of a tough time to get hold of it as well. At least until that's taken care of. Outpost gets taken down pretty quickly, reduces that vision that the Ottomans were having. Now getting the Zegosite on the west side himself. Possibly could get the one in the middle, actually. He's got good map positioning at this point. Whether it stays that way is another thing. Takes the engagement, 2 springalds, no mangonels to deal with them, but Gulam is a bit of an issue for the Ottomans. Got to find a way to deal with that. Maybe adding a couple more crossbows is always an option. Gonna try and break through on the west side and cause a bit of mayhem that way. on the right side, trying to get a keep here. So louemt trying to secure the 8,000 gold vein on the right side. And certainly looks like he needs it. Does have a gold vein back at home as well to take, but I think at this point, if you can get the 8,000 gold veins, that's going to be ideal. Obviously, deny it from your opponent as the late stages ensue in the game. That could be a big factor, of course. It certainly feels like we're heading to that late game. It's something that we said that the Ottomans kind of had to push the game in that state. Obviously, the way it was going, the Abbasids had a lot of units. The Abbasids haven't been able to push. The Ottomans have held with their 3 units, and now maybe posturing towards that Imperial age at some point. Oh, villagers there, kind of exposed. Oh, he's not reacting. Oh, he's going to lose a lot. Yeah, the Sipahi ripped through these guys really quickly. He's actually activated the Fortitude. I think he activated that. Either way, it gives 50% attack speed. Yeah, he did activate it. That was huge. Slowly but surely getting that keep up. Didn't actually send that many villagers, so 9 villagers. If that was spotted, could have been a problem, but he gets up in the end and he isn't spotted. That's the main thing. I tell you what, he will spot though, louemt. It's this big army knocking at his door before too long. Once it does start knocking, there's something that he can't ignore. Keep it in the middle of the map. Gonna protect that gold vein. I gotta say that gold vein is actually quite nice. It feels like that should be a neutral one, but it's kind of on the side of Montezuma in a big way. Does decap the west side sacred site, doing everything he can to try and limit the gold income. Looks like Montezuma just needs a little bit more gold, which is going to come in very quickly to get to that next stage. And what age will it be? Possibly trade wing? Feels like it could be an option in case he needs it in the late stages of the game. It's actually going to be the culture wing. Interesting. Okay. louemt. He actually has the gold for the tech up. Doesn't quite have the food just yet. Let's just take a look at the farming transition. It's actually coming now as we speak. Obviously got the berries from the twin minaret madrasa. Is helpful. But he's going to be running out of deer camp there in the south. Has got the berries he can posture towards as well if he needs to soon enough. Has actually completely ignored the deer camp here at Montezuma, surprisingly enough. Went for the farming transition in a case. And he's going to spot this keep. He spots it now. And will actually protect that sacred site somewhat. So it's something that the Ottomans will be looking to take. On the west side, louemt getting a bit of control. And also maybe on the right side too. Got to say, military numbers looking great here for Louis. As he gets to the next stage, he's going to have a large army to fight with. Gonna sneakily take out our ram. Oh, gonna try and wall up, but the keep, I mean, yeah, that's not gonna happen. It's gonna try and deny the walls either way, and the keep will stop that anyway. I tell you what, the Ottomans are gonna stop there. This push coming on in. These guys have got boot camp and composite bows. Let's actually double check that. I'm pretty sure they did. Yeah, they do. louemt gets to that Imperial age now. Alrighty, looking good. Right, going to try and torch down the town. I mean, he's not going to get too much value out of this. Ultimately, Montezuma's villager boom has already completed. So it might be better off trying to raid as much as he can. There's the Imperial age, though, for the Abbasids as well. So key upgrades coming on in. I mean, it will help quite significantly, cheapening the cost of all-important Imperial age upgrades, of course. Alrighty. He's engaging a good few mangonels, obviously free. Oh, he loses one mangonel pretty cheaply through the palisades. Might lose one spring, although the Abbasid takes engagement. A lot of janissaries and ranged units. Oh, mangonel deploys there massively for the Ottomans. Pushes back the Abbasids. The Abbasid loses a lot of the siege, and it's not only that. The raiding is happening. Sipahi around the back. Elite Sipahi at that. Around the middle as well. This is looking devastating. The Ottomans pushing back heavily at the right possible time. Montezuma, his army numbers dwindling, has to deal with the oncoming raids. Does have a couple of spearmen, which is a perfect unit against this, but Sipahi got the mobility, of course. And he's pushing on in with the siege. That fight was a big one here for the Ottomans. It went his way, and now the momentum continues. Does have a bank of food, so even if he's idle for a little while, I think louemt is still doing some damage. The big push has to come through the middle and denying of gold. He's take out the keep if he can. If he takes out this gold vein, well, the gold vein's already been expired, but kind of concerned for Montezuma, I gotta say. He's been cut off with gold in a big way. Spy getting some villagers, but they're going down as well on that wood line. A lot of spearmen. But what this does, it forces the Abbasid dynasty at home. He splits up his army. It means he takes a less favourable trade in the middle. He's about to trade. Spearmen engaging against the spy. Janissaries behind them though, rip through the spearmen numbers. If the spearmen numbers go down, the ranged armor is going to be problematic to deal with. And I wonder if we're going to see a great bombard before too long for the Abbasid, for the Ottomans rather. Something the Abbasids will need to deal with. Now, where do the Abbasids go for gold? That's the big question. Can't take the gold on the right side. Does he have any villages on the left side? We'll have to take a look at that in just a moment because a big action here in the Stealth Forest pushes the Abbasids back. Yeah, he does have a couple of villages, but if that's spotted by the Ottomans, that could be taken down pretty quickly. Gets in a culverin. That's pretty important to start prepping. Now is the yeah, it is toggled to bombards as you'd expect. It just takes a bit of time. It's going to take another minute or so. Oh, he spots it, the spy, and the villagers there, they're going to get harassed, and unfortunately he's not going to be able to replenish these villagers in this location anytime soon. Oof, he's not spotted it in time. Spy going to break through the walls pretty soon. Oh, he does have this gold he's taking here. This is huge, actually. That's going to buy him some time. The trouble for the Abbasids is going to try to deal with this. I mean, a lot of the gold has already been taken, but if you can take it, keep regaining that gold vein, it would be important. The trouble is, if he's on the right side, he's relatively exposed around the front. Spy going to break on through and raid a little bit. And the Ottomans maybe saving up for the big death ball of units, of course. Great bombards are a big part of that. I mean, does he try and torch this down with spearmen? Quite possibly. He does have boiling oil though, so it'll take some time and we'll lose some units for sure. Range units might focus on the village that might come out to repair. Either way, in the north he's being raided, but spearmen in good numbers to deal with that, so it's safe at home. Relatively, I mean, he torches this down pretty quickly, I gotta say. A lot of damage comes out of this. Massive. Takes the keep. Keeps the gold alive for his taking now. Was exposed here in the middle though. This is go time for the Ottomans. Does have another keep down the middle to secure. Does have cannon placement as well, but he's being torched down now by Sipahi. Spearmen starting to build up. Now is he going to go out to gold? I'm sure he's going to be sending villagers there soon. Down in the middle though. This is where the big action is. There is a great bombard. That's what we see coming in, taking down the keep pretty soon. Torch damage from the Sipahi is absolutely huge. 2 mangonel deploys on the spearmen. On the back line. You need to keep the mangonels alive if you can. Or spearmen get on top of that. Siege exposed for the Ottomans. That's not ideal. Bombard is still secure though, at least at the back. Janissary is going to take out the spearmen numbers if he can. Sipahi trying to get on top of the crossbows, which is exactly what they need to do. Reinforcements coming in quickly. They are cavalry, of course, and well, I think the Ottomans might be overrun a little bit. The spearmen numbers are starting to get out of control for Montezuma. Has to back away with the siege. It's doing just that. He's got a lot of palisades to get through, and that'll buy some time for the Ottomans to stabilize once again. A lot of upgrades coming in for the Ottomans. Full blacksmith upgrades already in. Try to get some stone walls on the right side. Will only be partially completed. I wonder if trade is going to be set up by either player anytime soon. Nothing just yet. Although, as I say, that's exactly what's happening now for the Ottomans. Because gold is starting to run out. As I say that, still has about 6,000 odd there. And 7,000 there, but Montezuma's kind of got control over the both big gold veins. So now it looks like the Ottomans are going to try and get a transition onto trade, which is of course a bit more of a long-term approach. A number of spearmen, if you can kind of narrow the angles of attack, I think obviously the Abbasids would be quite happy with that unit choice. We've got to be careful not to lose a bombard. Spy riding on, mostly for scouting I suspect, because with couple of spy, not going to be able to get that much value. Spearmen going to torch their way through and get a bit of raiding action on. Spy won't work for that for sure. Question in chat, is Montezuma demo? No, I believe I think someone said it was Wham, if I'm not mistaken. I don't know for sure, but that's what I've been told by Twitch chat. Ooh, bombard does deploy. Gets a good amount of splash damage on the spearmen. If the spearmen spotted that, they didn't. I mean, they could have taken engagement. It's going to go for the villager raid, maybe? On the right side, spearmen breaking on through as well. And he's out on gold. And he's going to get markets for the trade. This is where the trade wing potentially could have come in handy. I hope you're doing well, Dreru, in Twitch chat. Oh, Spearmen do engage in the end, and Sapai will slowly take them down just by sheer numbers. Yeah, he's trying to spot if there's trade, right? This is smart. I mean, sending units just to make sure, but he needs to go towards the... Yeah, he could have spotted it now, I think. He's pumping. 13 traders already. Alrighty. Spy will clean up the rest of the infantry around the back, but this is great actually for the Abbasids because what it's doing is forcing the Ottomans back at home, right? It allows them to gain momentum, get map control, maybe get the central sacred site, but also start to put some pressure down in the middle, which is exactly what he's doing. Plenty of hand cannoneers and spearmen, and adding in culverins as well to deal with some bombards that might enter the fold, and there it is. There is that bombard. Keep being placed in that forward position as well, so that's going to be difficult to deal with it by the Ottomans. The Ottomans nicely safe and secure for now. Oh, does snipe out, does a lot of splash damage as well. Culverin gets one shot. Will he get another? Bombard might get another shot on the Culverins. Does take the Culverin out. One bombard remains. The splash damage is the big deal here, though. Spearmen retreating. Gold vein about to expire soon. Doesn't have that much gold left in them. This one being taken the outpost slowly but surely with a great bombard, so securing that 7,000 gold still left in there, by the way. It's a massive amount. And the Ottomans starting to push forward. It does have stone walls built up quite heavily, so it's carved up the map in the middle. Hard to break through, but I've got to say the Ottomans do have the perfect unit for it. The great bombers, but he's throwing away a lot of Sapai, just so many spearmen. And Sapai is a flagship unit for the Ottomans. It just feels like he needs a transition away from it. It is a good nice meat shield unit, but it gets absolutely shredded with what the Abbasid have right now. A Spearman Hand Cannoneer could be a really nice army composition for the Abbasids with a couple of Culverin to try and deal with the Great Bombards, perhaps. The trouble is the Great Bombards, when they start to mass up in numbers, they're free for one, and number two, they do splash damage. That's the big deal. If you don't deal damage to the Great Bombards, they get a couple of shots off, it can be devastating. The trade should be up and running now for the Abbasids. Not many though, 2 so far. He's still getting plenty of gold on the right side, which I think is about to expire, if not already. There it is, only 200 odd left in there. So it's going to have a hard transition to trades, actually. Yeah, it's being set up, but the trade already up and running for the Ottomans, because it's in a good spot, actually, the Ottomans. Like, he's not going to run out of gold anytime soon. I think there's going to be a period of the game where Montezuma doesn't have actually much gold, because he's going to need to invest the gold that he already has into traders, and that's going to take some time to build up again. But Louis has been a bit more smoother in that regard. He's going to go up to the next stage with the trade wing, in fact, just to get that next tech up. It's a little bit cheaper, but of course it's an investment nonetheless. The Spearmen continue to push away the Sabai as they have all game. See the trade working really nicely for louemt. 43 so far. That's a hefty amount. It means that the units that he will have will be heavily premium units, and I mean, it could be anyway. He's got mostly supply at this point, but wouldn't be surprised to see a bit more of a meat shield type of unit, maybe man at arms to deal with the spearmen. That could be a nice transition actually, as it happens. You start to see even a 4th Great Bombard. Is he relying on just 3 Great Bombards? That'd be insane. No, he does have a siege workshop actually. Yeah, so he's making some alongside this. It felt like he was getting a lot more than time was allowing him to get just for free. And a massive choke point as well. That's hard to push for the Abbasids, I've got to say. Pushing on the Sapai. Is it overrunning even spearmen at this point? That is unusual. Spy torching their way through. I wonder whether wood is going to become an issue. Like, they've still got a good bank of wood. But potentially it could become if this wood gets expired. Where does he then go to. Like the 2 backwards. There's a little bit of wood here still remaining, but not much. Gonna have to start recommending the stealth forests, which is not ideal, but yeah, wood becomes an issue at some point in this game. We might not see that because it looks like he's going to try and deny the trade with the Sipahi, pushing on the middle with a siege death ball. Janissaries to protect, just to make sure no cavalry can get on top of that. Oh, that's looking devastating. 4 of these guys. Going to take out outposts really quickly on the right side. Going to try and torch down the trade post, actually. He's trading a bit there. Balancing the economy somewhat. Coming in with hand cannoneers and spearmen, odd. A few odd of them. Yeah, a decent amount, actually. Mostly hand cannoneers, actually. 35 of them. 4 great bombards. The concern is that a lot of civilizations with pushes, they often don't do too much siege damage. They don't do too much damage in terms of infrastructure. The Ottomans have no such problems. 4 great bombards, they take out buildings down very quickly. And the gold coming in is huge. 3,000 per minute. This is what we talked about, actually. Montezuma having that hard trade transition. And it was pushed at like possibly the worst possible time. He's only got 9 traders. This is just not enough. Montezuma's running out of gold. This is problematic. Like, he's got spearmen they can maybe get, but that'll deal with the supply, but doesn't do too great against the Janissaries unless the gap close. And the bigger problem is the splash damage coming in for the great bombards. Does have 2 culverins which snipes out great bombard. They do back away. And they're going to ride in through the east side. Those supply, again, trying to harass the trade as much as possible. A bit of a pushback though for Montezuma with the unit numbers. louemt not... You know, he's being patient. He's grouping up his army once again and making sure he doesn't throw away an army. Again, harassing on the right side. Not getting too much value with the spy, but it's causing some harassment. Oh, great bombards. You can see how much damage they're doing. A sea of dead blue bodies. Janissaries itching further forward. Great bombards are packing up. Or they were packing up. There we are. They are now. Zabahi riding in. All forward keep coming in slowly but surely. louemt getting some positioning. He should be able to get that up, actually. I'm not so sure Montezuma has enough to deal with it, although he does have a lot of hand cannoneers. They're joining the fight. 2 culverins taking the fight. He's going to take out 1 bombard. No, it's not even enough to one-shot. 1 culverin. I tell you what is one-shotted. That culverin. 3 bombards still remain. He's actually got a bombard in placement in that keep on the west side. Is he trying to break through? Yeah, a couple of rams going to be breaking through soon enough. Spahi on the right side, just focusing on that lumber camp for now. Rams coming out for Montezuma. Mostly just cannon fodder. I don't think they're going to be able to achieve too much. A couple of bombards a little bit further forward, but they're getting splash damage ultimately. There's no cavalry jumping on that. There is 1 culverin working on them. 4 bombards still in the fight. And it's repairing as well with the infantry, which is massive with the Janissaries. That is huge. Spearman trying to gap close, but this is still looking rough for Montezuma. Doesn't have the gold, is running out. The splash damage from the great bombards. I mean, the Spearman can't do all that much. Janissaries helping out. This is the siege death ball we expected the Ottomans to get in the late game, and they're showcasing it today. This is one of the new ways to play the Ottomans, and he has another bombard, 5 of them. Becoming a little bit difficult to deal with. Even hand cannoneers can't deal with it. They group up together, they get taken down by the AoE damage. 1 culverin still trying to work its way through and help on out. 2 rams. I mean, the big thing is that the rams, you know, they're cheap and they're forcing the villagers to torch them down. Not that food is too much of a problem here for Montezuma, but it potentially could have been. 1 more culverin. The big problem is that the abbasid is just trickling in the culverins, and the bombards are being repaired half the time by the Janissaries. On the right side, Sabai just harassing a little bit on the west side. Ready to just stop the re-wall. Rams continue to push on in. And there it is, ladies and gentlemen. Sabai poking on the villagers, and that is the last straw for Montezuma, who ran out of gold, ran out of steam, he ran out of pressure, ran out of ideas. And it will be the Ottomans taking the game on Highview.